That's right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the CoachCon Podcast. So, today we're up to episode 23, and we're going to be looking at the January roadmap. So this is something that I've been wanting to do for a little while. I've had this episode planned, and I kind of want to make sure that people have an idea of what to do coming into January. Whether they're getting back into things, or maybe just starting out. This episode's very much intended to not cause any overwhelm or anything like that. It's ultimately just to try and give a little bit of value, give a bit of insight, and ultimately just make sure that people aren't going into January feeling bloated, guilty, tired, overwhelmed, any of those things. Okay, so obviously today is the 22nd of December when this podcast is going out. And yeah, firstly, I would like to thank everyone that has listened, tuned in. I know we don't exactly have too many viewers as of yet, but it is nice. It's been something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, making podcasts, and there has been some very good feedback as well, so I do appreciate that. So for me, I always used to sack December off, even in my time as a PT, so over the last 4 years up until this December. It was just a thing of focusing on clients, giving myself a bit of downtime, bit of rest, not really looking after myself as much, and then kind of starting out again in January. And this December's been very, very different. I have got a couple of massive things coming up in 2026 that I've never done before that I will be sharing in the weeks to come. But essentially, if you're listening to this and it maybe hasn't quite been your year in terms of fitness, it's been maybe a little bit stop-start, that kind of thing, then again, this episode is going to be for you. January maybe even feels like a long way off. Obviously, we've got Christmas to enjoy and that kind of thing. But one thing I'd like to reframe straight away is January isn't a rescue mission. It's not the thing of, let's just get everything in line now and this is going to be a complete overhaul, changing life. You're going to do everything overnight and suddenly life's going to be great. It's one thing that I'd like to say as well is fitness isn't a punishment for what's gone on in December. So whatever happened in December, even over the last, 11 months prior to this, don't let January be this thing of where you're going to try and go all in straight away, overwhelm yourself and crash out by mid-January, even into February. You don't need to completely change your personality and all of the habits that you may have, bad habits, changing all of them at once. January doesn't need to be the super intense month like most people that have you maybe believe, or that's the way the marketing goes with, the fitness industry and that kind of thing. It just needs a little bit of direction. So sometimes January can be a bit of a failure to people. A lot of people maybe don't sort of get back into things even until about April time, like, life happening, all that kind of thing. But there's a lot of emotional planning almost goes on between Christmas and New Year, I find, with folks with, families and kids, that kind of thing. They can almost have this guilt coming into January, and it's not about that. It's about just getting into things, getting things right, and ultimately taking just a little bit of action, as I've said before, getting into the right direction. So it's very easy as well to get brought into these 6-week challenges, these January challenges, these, influencer type routines, and thinking that that's going to work for you as well. But 9 times out of 10, it's not going to. That's why for me, I don't run things like 6-week challenges, fancy program names or anything like that. Maybe I'm a bad marketer, I don't know, but I'd rather just be honest, do proper one-to-one coaching, give a full one-to-one service, and ultimately be able to help change people's lives from there. You're not going to undo months of bad decisions and bad nutrition and all that kind of thing, and bad habits, if I can keep using that word bad, but anything like that, anything negative that you've got going on, you're not going to magically undo that in, the 31 days of January. It's just not going to be the case. So, first of all, if you are looking to plan January, your fitness routine, getting back into things, however it might be, don't be thinking you need to be in the gym every day, or you need just one rest day and you need to do 6 gym sessions a week. Not at all. Even for me, where I'm at the moment, I'm only in the gym 5 days a week. So the rest of my time, I've got 2 full rest days aside from just doing steps, which is just a non-negotiable, getting out and going for a walk for me. You don't have to do things on the diet front of no carbs and keto dieting, because if you've never done that sort of dieting routine before, for a start, it's not going to be enjoyable and you're unlikely to stick to it. It's a very extreme approach from the get-go, and it's very easy as well to say, I'm going to stop drinking, I'm going to do dry January. But if that's not something that you're capable of doing, you maybe don't have the willpower for that, then you don't have to do it. If you can do that, I mean, for myself, I've been very minimal with alcohol, but I turned 30 on the 13th of January, the same day Mum has her birthday as well. So I'm not going to have a dry January. I'm going to Tenerife for 4 nights, so it's going to be reserved. It's not going to be anything too crazy. I'm getting older, but it's not going to be over the top, but at the same time, it's not going to be some dry January for me. And that's me as a coach, as someone in decent shape, wanting to get into better shape and got some big things coming up next year. So if I'm not doing the thing of no alcohol, I'm not going to stand here and say, you need to do that. It's the same with the no carbs. I have done low carbs before when I've had things to try and get ready for, so to speak. So when I've done a photo shoot last year in June, when I was trying to just get my weight down a little bit quicker and things like that, I did do that approach. Again, for that photo shoot, I was not super lean or anything like that, but I did that just to try and do a little bit of a rapid fat loss phase. And that's just me being honest. That's not something I prescribe to many clients at all. It's only been something I've done now and again if they've got reason to do it. Okay. Also, you may say, I'm going to smash the cardio. I'm going to be smashing the cardio every day. And again, you're not likely to do that. If you do that, you're not going to stick to it. Even me at the moment, with a very high output of 175 minutes of cardio a week, and that doesn't include steps. This is zone 2, zone 3 cardio, so heart rate 140 up to potentially 150-ish in that area, then I'm not doing that either. And the weight's been coming off me, shape's getting better all the time. And for me, I've been quite inspired with the people I've spoke to on this podcast and that kind of thing. And that's what kept me going as well. So again, cardio is maybe 5 days a week. Last week it was 4. I ended up playing football on Monday night for an hour. So again, that brought down the 175 minutes significantly because of that. Okay. And one thing I'd like to say as well is, don't expect yourself to be perfect. Don't get this impression that from January, I'm going to be perfect, I'm going to get everything right, I'm going to get it absolutely perfect. Not necessarily, I wouldn't be thinking like that. I wouldn't be thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to completely be this new person and everything like that. It's just not going to work. And when it doesn't work, or unlikely to work, I should say, maybe there's someone that's able to do it, it is going to be sad. It's going to knock your confidence. And I've tried to do that before. I've made promises when I've been on holidays and coming back from holidays before, and I've said, yeah, when I get back from holiday, I'm going to smash it, I'm going to get straight into things, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It can be the thing as well where you might get a little bit ill after Christmas. There's a lot going around, so that disappointment of not being able to get straight away to what you want to do, that can knock your confidence as well. So don't make crazy promises to yourself you can't keep. It's important to make promises. For myself, I'm saying 10,000 steps a day, 5 weight sessions a week, 5 cardio sessions, and those are the promises I'm keeping to myself. As I'm only saying those promises because that's what's feasible. I know if I was to train 6 days a week, which I've got the time to do, luckily, with the job I've got and that kind of thing, if I did that, I'm just not going to recover. Only do what you can recover from. If you're someone brand new to this, 2-3 solid workouts a week is going to be completely game changing for you. And a little bit on the psychology front behind all of this as well that I think might be useful is, you can very much get like a nervous system overload. It can be overwhelming. So I'll be honest, the phase I'm in at the moment in terms of dieting, in terms of the cardio, the training, the steps, everything I'm doing, it is a little bit overwhelming. I've found that I'm tracking an awful lot on the phone at the moment. I'm using ChatGPT to log calories in. I'm putting physique updates into there, just as a little bit of free accountability, really. It's just using that, it's using your fitness apps to track things. And even for me at the moment, I am feeling that overwhelm. I know I'm tracking the data too hard. I'm filling in a spreadsheet every day. It's like a check-in sheet that I've made, where I'm basically putting in my body weight, stress levels, recovery, how I'm feeling, what cardio I've done, what I've trained. And it is overwhelming, and I'm doing that every day, and I am feeling that sort of nervous system overload that I'm talking about. And it's important that I talk about that and say that you don't want to be getting into that. You know, I'm already thinking now I need to be pulling back. Maybe I need to look in to just being a little bit more relaxed with things myself, in terms of just trusting myself to be just getting the work done, rather than overthinking, rather than tracking so much and bringing me on to my next point, doing too many changes at once. So not that I'm making changes particularly at the moment, I'm just kind of letting things ride, but I've been fortunate enough to bump the food up a little bit over the last few weeks, because I've been dropping significant body weight. I don't want to be dropping any muscle mass, so my calories have been going up. I believe I have talked about this before in the episode, but currently I am at, as of today, 2,800 calories a day on a train day and 2,600 on a rest day. And that's just because at the minute metabolism's in a very good spot. The activity level is not through the roof, but it's been consistent for weeks that my system's basically getting food on board and kind of using it, which is very optimal, and I'm in a very good spot with that. But at the same time, there's a lot of output that I'm doing to make that happen. So don't be making too many changes at once. Don't jump in and say, oh, I'm going to do, I mean, I got asked this the other day about my routine. Don't do CoachCon's routine. Don't say I'm going to do 5 weight sessions, 5 cardios, and you know, because you're not allowing yourself a recovery buffer either, and that is something that's super important. So I'm very lucky that I'm able to use the sauna with Ultraflex Durham and be able to take cold plunge in there as well, so that all helps recovery. In terms of sleep, because I ended up getting an actual refund on them, I persisted with them and I found them quite good. I'm using nose strips and mouth tape on a night for the sleep, so that's that extra 1%. I'm taking my ZMA before bed. Again, sleep is optimal. I'm very lucky at the moment. I am able to schedule my days to allow for that 8 to 10 hours of essentially being in bed, because that's what I find is optimal for me. That's what works. You need to be at least getting 7.5 hours a night. That's something that I've really tightened up on, especially with the phase I'm in at the moment. If I'm losing sleep, if I'm not getting that recovery, that downtime, this is not going to be sustainable. And that brings me on to sustainability. And if you're watching this, I did a bit of David Brent there with the fingers. Sustainability. So it brings me on to sustainability. And this is the thing that I really want to stress, and this is something that I've learned the hard way, that I've learned through coaching, but also with my own journey, and that is the thing of do things that you can sustain. If you can get in and do 3 sessions a week, great. Maybe there'll be a time we can bump to 4. If you can do even an hour of cardio a week and then steps around that, great. It's whatever's going to be sustainable. I think, I wouldn't say with clients as such, but I think sometimes in my own mentality, it's been the thing of not making things sustainable, doing too much too soon. January plans fail because they're built on guilt. They're not getting built on structure, and we need some structure. We need to be saying what is feasible. Let January be the re-entry. Don't let it be the thing of, oh my god, my 90-day transformation or my 6-week breakthrough. You know, don't have it be this huge sort of redemption mission or anything like that. Don't, because it can be so overwhelming, and certainly don't be letting it punish you. Don't be beating yourself up in January. The thing I've learned a lot this year, and I've talked about this on Instagram, there's some recent posts, feel free to read the captions, I'm getting pretty good at them. It's being a little bit kinder to yourself. There's a time where you shouldn't be kind to yourself as well. There's times where if you need to kick up the arse, you need to get on with it. If you're being fat and lazy and wondering why your life is not very good, then don't be kind to yourself. You need to sort yourself out. Simple as that. But I'm talking about achievement. You need to be kinder to yourself. You know, when you're trying to do something good, like going into January, treating it as a re-entry, not as a punishment, then again, be kind to yourself in that situation. When you actually try and when you're actually doing something, you know, as I say, if I'm very much I've learned the thing of being kind to myself, you know, but that's in the sense of, you know, the condition that I'm getting in at the minute. I've actually learned to celebrate that a bit more. I've shared more physique updates because I'm actually feeling a little bit proud of myself. I realise that I'm not the 19, 20 stone lad of years gone by before becoming a PT, you know. So I am being kind to myself on that front. However, if I'm to come back from Tenerife and start slacking, then I'm not going to be kind to myself on that front. You know, I'm not going to say, oh, well, I've had a good run. You know, it's going to be, no, it's back to work. You get off that plane, you're going to bed, you're getting back to work on the Thursday, you know. It's getting into that rhythm. It's getting into that thing of building your confidence before even thinking about the fat loss. What wins can we stack up? What quick things can we do? Can we get meal prep done? If we've got some finances, can we look at even a meal prep company? You know, I'm very fortunate that what I eat is pretty simple to get through. You know, beef mince, Greek yogurt, you know, squares bars after I've trained, that kind of thing. Protein shakes, you know, it's turkey, chicken, things that are very easy to prep, pre-cooked meats, that kind of thing. That's what gets me in the rhythm for things. I'm not spending hours at a time meal prepping, trying to be fancy, trying to be flash, over the top with cooking. It's things that I can batch cook, get done, get in the fridge and get on with for the days to come. Keeping some calm consistency is what's going to win out here. It's not going to be the thing of overwhelming yourself, trying to do too much. If anything, guys, January is going to reward you for people who are keeping it boring. They're not trying to say, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. I'm going to smash cardio out every morning. I'm going to be in the gym every day. Because if anything, even with all the will in the world, guys, that can be not be, you may not be able to recover from that, you know. I know myself, if I was to bump to 6 gym sessions a week, the food would have to go up more probably to sustain that, and probably the cardio would have to come down, you know. And at the minute everything's working, so I'm not going to try and fix it, you know. So some little metaphors, if you like, that you can kind of think of. You wouldn't sprint after you've just been injured. You don't, first thing on the morning, cold start, you don't floor the throttle on a cold engine, do you? You know, on a cold start in a winter's morning. And you don't fix your finances by gambling. You know, it's, to say it again, January's going to reward you for keeping it boring, for keeping it basic. So, a roadmap. This is what I'd be doing, so feel free to knock a few notes down or timestamp this bit if I can. 1 to 2 weeks. So your first couple of weeks of January, rebuild. Let's just start with that, rebuild. This phase matters because it's getting some good habits. You know, it's the whole thing of showing up. Not that I'm particularly a fan of that phrase, but it is true. It's about showing up for yourself, getting some habits, re-establishing some routine. That is going to be really important. So, or getting a routine. So thinking about wake up times, thinking about bed times, thinking about steps on a morning, what nights you can go at the gym, so on. Lowering that mental load, almost lowering the ceiling a little bit as well, so that when the winds start coming, when the momentum starts coming, you're going to be able to keep going, to keep pushing through that, okay? Set some basic standards in this phase, so that could be 3 gym sessions a week, steps daily, pretty much non-negotiable, like that should be something pretty straightforward. Protein at every meal, so with that, even 20-30 grams is going to help you. If you're trying to, if you're a bit bigger, you know, you're trying to build some muscle, might be 30-40. I would always go with 2 grams per kilo of body weight. That is, you know, unless you are, you know, particularly over a certain body weight, you might want to set 2 grams of protein per kilo of goal body weight. That is also acceptable. That is something that I had to do, as just digestion wise when I was a lot bigger. Trying to stuff, you know, 250s, 260s grams of protein a day was just, digestion wise, was not possible. So it had to be more goal weight. It had to be more around the 180 to 200 grams per day, okay, which is perfectly fine. Establish a sleep routine. It's amazing that as adults, and this is again something I had to learn the hard way when I just wasn't recovering. Granted, at the time, it was around the time I was doing all the half marathons and everything last year, doing obviously the Great North Run, I did the ultra marathon, all that kind of stuff, and so there was a little bit of that, but it's also establishing some standards in terms of sleep. Try and have a set bedtime. Like, it's almost like being a kid, but it is going to serve you massively. I always wear the smartwatch to go to bed. I like to see the sleep score, I like to see the data. I like to see where I'm at in terms of what's been going on, so I can make adjustments should I need to. But getting that set bedtime is so important. Getting a set wake time is going to set your routine massively. It's going to set that circadian rhythm. And with that, it probably doesn't sound like much, but you're going to get a lot of momentum from that. So when I have a day like today, I've been able to dedicate from 5:15 this morning until 12:15 today to simply getting steps, getting cardio done, training, getting my meals in and answering some client messages. So in terms of productivity, that's brilliant. It's now 20 to 3 in the afternoon. I'm doing this podcast. The rest of my day is free. I've no steps to hit. I've no cardio to do. I've no training to do. So I can focus on the business, focus on making this podcast, and ultimately just enjoy my day. You know, that training's done. Yes, I enjoy that to a degree most days. But again, that is done. So the first phase, fat loss, is not your priority. Getting your confidence, getting the routine is. Don't chase the results before you start trusting yourself again. So you need to get that trust, get that confidence in yourself. Weeks 3 to 4, we apply a little bit more structure. So we've got all the initial bit. We've got a little bit of routine. Now we want to structure it. So let's tighten it up. Let's have some calorie control. Set a calorie target. Track what you're eating. Simple as that. There's a lot of things going, but essentially if you stick to, it's not the be all and end all, guys, but if, as a general rule, if you stick to calories in versus calories out, you're going to be okay. Now, there is more to it than that. We need to think about food quality. Personally, for me, I like to think a little bit about controlling insulin as well, not sort of spiking insulin, that kind of thing, which can interfere with digestion, fat storage and so on. But in basic terms, we need to just be thinking a little bit about calories in, calories out. That is going to be enough to get us some wins, to get us some results on the board, okay? Training with intent. So if you're going to be in a gym, you're going to be doing a few weights, you may be going to be getting a plan from somewhere or training with a mate, whatever. Train with some intent, you know. And I'm not saying you need to be getting every last drop out on every rep, but let's just have some intent. If we're in there, we're not on our phones, we're not scrolling, we're not just sitting on machines aimlessly, we're not just wandering around, we've got a little bit of purpose, we know what we're doing, we're going to go in there, we're going to do well, okay? Then we can bring in some cardio properly as well. And again, even if it's just twice a week, that's going to go nicely with the calories. This is going to reduce body fat. This is going to help us improve and look better. And let's avoid extremes in this phase as well. So a lot of people, as we've said, they rush into this. They lose that confidence early on. They think, what's the point? If they're lucky, they revisit in April. If not, they'll watch this version of this podcast this time next year and wish they'd maybe listen to this. I don't know. But people rush in, people do too much, they overwhelm themselves. Rushing breaks things. You can only recover, you can only train to the capacity you can recover from. And initially, if you're brand new, that could be 2-3 days a week, you know. And consistency over time is what's going to save us. I would rather someone did 3 sessions a week for 3 months than 6 sessions a week for a month. Because by that 3-month point, you're going to be a lot more in rhythm, you're going to be a lot more with good habits, so on and so forth. So that is going to be a lot better. Consistency creates confidence, okay? That is one thing to remember. So, a few bits of crap that I want to tell you to ignore in January, okay? And we really need to call this out. So there are still detoxes and juice cleansers and all that going around. Ignore that. It's nonsense. Don't do it. 75 hard is something that's crept in. If you're a beginner, don't do that. Like, if you're starting out, if you want to get into things, don't be doing it. Because as I say, what happens when life happens, what happens when you need to move things around, that kind of thing, it's going to be overwhelming. You're most likely not going to stick to it. Don't just diet for January. Don't think January's going to fix things, because by February, March time, you're going to be screwed. And again, going back to what I've said before about the kindness, don't be shaming yourself for December. Don't think, oh, I really messed up over Christmas. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have had the meals. Shouldn't have had the puddings, this, that, whatever. Don't be doing that, okay? Peace and goodwill to all men and women and whatever else. Okay? Peace and goodwill to everybody, okay, over Christmas, including yourself. So, if it relies on willpower, it's not going to last. And that's the top and bottom of those challenges, especially when I've touched on previously about the dieting, the keto, the low carbs. Willpower's not going to power you through that, trust me. So I'm not low carb. My carbs are my highest macronutrient at the moment. I'm having more carbs than protein, and that's me at the moment. So if I'm doing that, I'm not going to be preaching to you about low carbs and all that, okay? A lot of it can be marketing, and that is, again, something that needs to be said. You know, the fitness industry, I'm very much trying to be as transparent as I can. I do this podcast, I talk about what I'm doing, I talk about where I'm at, I give the ins and outs of everything. When I share results, I'll give the story behind those results that I've shared this year as well, so people know the truth, you know. So a little bit of bringing it home, okay, because I appreciate, I didn't want to make a long episode about this, but January doesn't need to be perfection. We just need a little bit of direction. You don't need motivation, but you do need a plan that you can repeat and what's going to be sustainable. Build your January properly, and the rest of the year is going to get easier for you, okay? I promise you that. So without further ado, I shall leave this one there. I think this has been a record. I think this has been the shortest episode I've ever made. Some of you might be pleased about that. But anyway, God bless you all. Have a lovely Christmas. Thank you for those that have tuned in, watched and listened this year. I really appreciate it. So, take care. Thank you for listening. Have a great January. Please subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff. Maybe even leave a comment, even if it's a bad one. But yeah, if you need any help, drop me a line on Instagram at Ashton Online Coaching, and I'll be more than happy to help you. Okay? Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.